Hey everyone, welcome to the It's My Time show. I'm your host, David Andron, national recruiter for My Time Sports, and I'm here with James Gamble, the owner of the Global Scouting Bureau. Welcome, James.
Good morning, Dave. How you doing?
Good. How are you, man?
Good.
That's first time back in about a month and a half. We had to deal with some remnants of Hurricane Ida who came through last month, and had some power outages and things like that. So we're glad to be back. Glad everybody's safe. Hopefully everybody's doing well in South Louisiana.
Yeah, I know it was really bad. Affected a lot of people from, say, Houma, Thibodaux, all the way north over to New Orleans through Hammond. And I know it's been a frustrating time for all the kids and their families. And, well, welcome to South Louisiana. We've all kind of been through it, but we hope that they're doing okay.
I want to touch a little bit about the recruiting process. It's been a jam the last year and a half with all the COVID and now the transfer portal and different things like that. So, a lot of the 2022 graduates are kind of in panic mode, but I want to talk a little bit about, what's changed and, things are starting to open back up. I'm getting a lot more phone calls from college coaches now looking for players. And I think they're getting back on campus this fall and going through their rosters and, going to make some changes. So it'll open up some spots. So I want to let the 2022 grads, understand they need to relax. There will be some opportunities. It is starting to pick up and get back to normal on our end.
Yeah, I think the biggest change in the industry right now is for people to be patient because there's such there's abundance of players. Roster rules have changed. How many players are on each roster, whether it's junior college, Division I. Dave, I'm sure you've been traveling like I have. I've been to schools that have 55 and 60 players on their current fall roster. And so there's a little bit of anxiety from the 2022 class, even the 23s. Their families don't know what's going to happen. They're going to be okay if they continue to work on who they are and what they do. And I know we'll get into that in talking. But more and more calls, we're getting the same thing. They're looking for players. Some teams are looking for players at the break right now,
right?
From a junior college standpoint, because it's legal. They can add to their rosters. And even though they have a lot of players, there's been so much time that the recruiters have been tied down. Now they can get out again. But there was so much time that they were tied down. A lot of these schools signed players based on video and things like that. And although that's the way of the future, now that they're getting to see the players, some of the realistically, players don't always send the full truth. They send, here's the best version of what I do. Hey, that's great. I would do it as well. But now that the coaches are getting to see them, they're making different decisions. And there's always going to be opportunity for the players that continue to work hard and excel and improve their game. But I, too, deal with parents that are panicked that there's not going to be spots. There's going to be spots. There's going to be spots next July. I think if you look back at some of our videos going months back, how we talked about there was going to be a frenzy of late signing this past summer. We saw a frenzy of late signs in the end of July and even the beginning of August. You were getting calls. I was getting calls looking for players. Now, I can't tell you it's always the dream school. You have to find an opportunity first that fits you and your family and the opportunity to play. But if you love the game of baseball, want to continue and you work hard, there's going to be opportunities and there's going to be movement. You and I talked last week. I was under the impression that this one-time transfer with no sit-out was going to be a kind of a fix-all because of all of the COVID changes and sit-outs. And, well, the reality is this is an ongoing rule that's going to stay in effect for every athlete in baseball for the next few years unless they make another rule change. Every player is going to have the opportunity to have a one-time transfer with no sit-out. So that also changes the game. It means there's going to be more movement. So a lot of times when parents are thinking there's not going to be a spot and they're looking at a roster, we know, because we're dealing with the coaches on a daily basis, the roster of today is not the roster of tomorrow. Nobody's safe. You have to continue to work on your skill. You have to make the grades in the classroom. There's lots of guys that are underperforming, and you don't want to leave that for coaching staffs. They don't want to have the liability of low-performing athletes. So I think that's stuff that we need all our parents to understand is there's going to be spots. There's going to be plenty of spots. And that's not at a junior college Division I, II, it's everywhere. There's going to be spots that are coming available. I think you would agree.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, going back to one of our previous episodes on, the D1 or bust mentality, it was difficult for a high school athlete to get into Division I, especially get in and play right away in the past. And now with the one-time transfer rule, it makes it even more difficult. So, I want these athletes to understand, be realistic when you're looking at your options. I'm not saying Division I will be out of the question for high school athletes, but it's really a difficult situation for them to get into Division I as well as get in and play right away.
Sure. Well, one of the things that I'm going to use an example. I was talking to Division I coaches about 2 weeks ago. I was sitting with a couple of them, and here's one of the ongoing scenarios based on the rule. And I'm just speaking bluntly as if I was a coach because I was with them. The challenge that a lot of your mid-majors have is if I go after a high school athlete, okay, and that high school athlete comes to my college as a freshman, if he doesn't play a lot, he's unhappy. But a lot of times the families don't understand the speed of the game is so much different than high school. The everyday in and out is so much faster. So the athlete has not yet acclimated. He doesn't play a lot. And if that athlete is on scholarship and he decides to transfer and he goes to a junior college, that actually is a negative hit on their APR. Okay, so that hurts the Division I. Now, the flip side of that is if the athlete goes and he's really good and he's a freshman and he starts and he has a great season, the athlete transfers to another school that might be a bigger Division I. So a lot of the mid-major coaches are in a little pickle here because they're almost darned if they do and they're darned if they don't. And some of this is the false expectations. That's why from our standpoint, our company, we're trying to make sure both for the college and the athlete that they understand what they're getting into. They have realistic expectations. And when they go somewhere, they're going there for the right reasons. They understand why they're going there. Because we feel that a lot of athletes, they make a decision, but they're not willing to stick to it. But a lot of that is because they had false expectations. It's very tough. We've seen it. You've seen it. Even some of your best athletes in high school, when they go to college, they're simply not ready yet. Their tools are there, but the tools don't play yet. And in the brains of them and sometimes their families, they feel the coaches are wrong and they could have done better. They didn't get enough time. You're no longer competing with just, say, 17 and 18 and 19-year-olds. Now you've got 24-year-olds playing Division I baseball. Okay, that's what's happening. So the gap, not just in age, but the gap in experience and how to go about managing your time, because one of the biggest things at the college level is learning how to manage your time, both in the classroom, on the field, taking care of your body, how you can do that day in and day out. And the majority of young athletes, they have to learn that. They're not doing that when they're in high school. Their families are managing their time. Their high school coaches and teachers are managing their time by ringing a bell and saying, go to the next class. And if they don't show up, their principals are calling their houses. Well, you don't have that anymore. Now it becomes very self-motivated. You have to get up and do things on your own.
That brings me to my next point. You and I have written our first book, It's My Time, is going over the recruiting process and gives players and parents and even coaches the ins and outs of, college recruiting and, the ways to go about getting into and finding your best fit. But I'm excited about the new book we're working on right now. And it talks a little bit about what you just touched on, the athlete SWOT analysis. As a business owner, they do a SWOT, to just determine their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and see what the competition is and see what they need to improve on. Well, athletes need to do the same thing. And, you and I have talked about that many times. They have a hard time looking in the mirror and giving themselves an honest self-evaluation. They hear false information from their parents that are blinded, about their abilities. And, so I'm really excited about this book, and, we can talk a little bit about it, and it should be out in a couple of months.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things, and you're pointing on it, is that the majority of people, human nature is to, look out the window and start using other people as your gauge. Whereas if you will look in the mirror and start focusing on your own personal development as an athlete, as a student, as a human being, that it's more productive. Identifying the truths. So many times, because when you start playing baseball at 7 years old, you're playing in a small community to be the top baseball player. And I'm from a little place called Bayou Vista. If you're the best in Bayou Vista, naturally your parents think you're uber talented. But as we go from Bayou Vista to St. Mary Parish, from St. Mary Parish, you're going to South Louisiana. From South Louisiana, you're going to the state of Louisiana. There's a lot of good players, and you have to keep improving your game. Part of the issues that we see with a lot of guys going to college and quitting or being frustrated, or it's my coach's fault, is a lack of true expectations. They have false expectations. The families have false expectations. That's why when we wrote It's My Time, we were trying to give them, here's the, there's outliers, we know that, but here's the criteria that the athletes have. Here's their foot speed, here's their arm strength. Here's the academic requirements, so that the families and the athletes can understand what it actually takes to play at the next level. As you and I are talking and we're writing the SWOT analysis, we're trying to let the athletes say, okay, what am I good at? Okay. What are my weaknesses? Where do I struggle? Right? What opportunities? And that could be, having a really good summer program and your coaches are really good and you're in a good environment. There's a lot of having access to good resources, but you also have the threats, things like peer pressure, or to me, the internet. I'm a firm believer that half of the social media is nothing more than cliff notes rather than getting the whole truth. So many times we see athletes really desiring to put out that table and then in social media say, I have committed. Our goal is not just having you commit, but to go somewhere and play. So that's one of the biggest differences, because you rarely see in social media where an athlete is putting out there, hey, I just got cut. Hey, I just failed out. Things like that.
Yeah, for sure. One of the most difficult things is for the players to look in the mirror and talk about, what their weakness is or what their threats are. And, there is a difference. Weakness may be your 60-yard dash time. You're slower than the person next to you. Your arm strength's not strong enough. But your threats are something different. And your threats can be anything from, temptation and, like you said, peer pressure on the field, also in the classroom. That's part of your opportunities, your threats. You got to look at what comes into the academic side of it when you get into college sports, because, how many players do we know that we send off to college and they don't get to play because they fail in the classroom. They don't look in the mirror outside of the baseball world, and they don't take care of their business, their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, and their threats in the classroom.
No, I totally agree with you. A lot of times when I'm talking to families, and I know, I don't have kids of my own, so it's easy for me. But what I've noticed over the past 25 years of working with athletes and advancement is that the student athlete typically will find the threshold of acceptance of the parents. And that's what they do. If the parents hold them to a high standard, they work hard to get to that standard. And I'm not condemning any parents again, but let's say the kid makes a 3.5. A lot of parents find that socially acceptable. They're doing fine. So they say, hey, my kid's a good student. Whereas from our standpoint, we're wanting the athlete and the student athlete to push themselves to be the best they can be. So at times I find that the 3.5 student could have been a 4.0, so I challenge them. Other times you may have a 2.5 student that is giving 100%, and I tell them I'm proud. So it's confusing to the families, but I think our goals is to encourage people to be the best they can be, because everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. Some people excel in math, some people don't. But again, it goes to that creating a discipline, creating a routine, always tweaking your routine to make sure you can be the best you can. And when we say that, as I talk to major league players, as we talk to successful college players, the thing that you find is they have a good routine, not just in managing their time for the classroom, but how about their nutrition, how they eat, when they go to bed. Their lives become one big routine, and they continue to better that routine and manage their time. They're reading more from other people. They're taking it in. There's so many things that the athletes can be doing by looking in the mirror and saying, here it is, this is what I need to do. And then, diving into the industry as far as, nutrition, sleep habits. I'm not sitting here, and I know you're not either, saying, hey, I'm a nutritionist, you need to eat whatever. But the athlete has to be able to look in the mirror and say, okay, I need to put on weight. I need to lose weight. I need to get stronger, and then hold themselves accountable. I think accountability is really important. And of late, what we've been challenging the young student athletes, because they all have friends in high school, is to have a performance partner, an accountability partner, somebody that's going to tell them like, hey, whoa, that's not you. I know your goals and dreams because you've told me and I'm your friend. And if it's your true friend, if it's somebody that really cares about you, they're going to hold you accountable and say, no, you're not going to act that way. You're not going to behave that way. You're not going to go off of the routine you have because you've worked really hard. And I think we identify, Dave, and we do a good job of letting the parents understand that at times, instead of forcing, when you force something to happen, it's different from that self-motivation of the athlete or the student athlete saying, this is what I want to become. And rather than verbally saying it, their actions support it. I know some athletes that they wake up in the morning at 5 o'clock and they're getting after it, and their parents have never told them anything. Well, those self-motivated athletes, I'm seeing them succeed. I then deal with some families where the family is saying, hey, you have lessons today. You have to get up and be well. The second that parent had to make them go to the lesson, to me, that's a red flag, right? I don't know if the desire is there. That it factor may not be there. That's the sixth tool that we talk about. So I think the book that we're coming out with is going to be very good for not just the student athlete, but his family, so they can have an understanding of the life of an athlete, what it takes to be that next level athlete, the commitment that it takes. There's, again, that's why I don't like social media so much. Everybody makes it like it's easy. If it was easy, you would have 90% of athletes becoming college athletes, where you have 11.7 that are moving on. And that's Division 1, 2, and 3, the NCAA, but that's small numbers. Well, those people have to live differently because their commitment's different. They have different goals and dreams. So for athletes, they have to know that their own little group, they have to live a certain way. There's an expectation and a commitment level and sacrifices that they have to make. And their families need to know that too. If they think they're going to have, spring break when they're in college and they're a baseball player, they can forget about it. It will not exist. It's a heavy commitment.
I'm excited about the book. I think it's going to be a very valuable tool to players, parents, and even coaches who want to help their players advance. It's going to be something worth reading. It'll be out in a couple of months, so be sure you check it. Follow us on our Facebook, our social media pages, and see when it comes out. Going back out this weekend, I know I'll be at Southwest Mississippi Junior College scouting some baseball. I know, James, you'll probably be on the road as well. Last week I was in Pensacola at the junior college tournament, and I got to see some really good baseball players there. So, I'm excited to be back on the road and get back out to seeing some more good players.
I agree. And one of the things that I'm seeing more and more for the 22s and the 23s, if they look down upon junior college or Division 2 and 3, they need to rethink things, because I'm seeing lots of opportunities that, again, from an outside perspective, I'm seeing more of those opportunities being beneficial for the young athlete, even if they're elite. When they're going to the Division I program, if they're not ready, they're not playing. And it's tough to go through and practice all year and have the commitment level and then not play. Whereas I'm seeing more and more opportunities being beneficial at the junior college. And there's some really good ones. I'm seeing some of them that are improving every year. They're adding to their facilities, locker rooms, and everything's improving. So I think the industry is recognizing the value of junior college baseball, Division II baseball. I'm seeing programs that when you walk on campus, a UWF, tell me it doesn't look Division I the day you step on.
Right. Yeah. Beautiful.
Okay. The Mississippi colleges, these are phenomenal facilities with great opportunities, but we have to get over this stigma of Division I. It's a label. That's what it is. And if you get to play there, that's great. Our opinion, I think you and I both agree that you want the student athlete to have an experience, and part of that is getting their academic experience. Part of that is being able to contribute to a baseball program, not just be a member of the team. You want to be able to contribute, compete, and play. So.
establish some memories that'll last you a lifetime. Chances of getting to the big leagues or even professional baseball are very slim. So go enjoy, 2 years or 4 years of play of baseball as long as you can. That's why I always tell them, find the best fit. There's no fun in sitting a bench, just so you can say, I got this jersey on. Get out there and perform, find a good fit. And that's what My Time Sports, can do for you. I know you guys do the same thing with Global Scouting Bureau, advancing players, to college and professional ranks. And we just want to help everybody that we can. We don't care what jersey you wear, what team you're on. We want to help as many players advance as possible. And, if you have any questions or any interest in learning more about My Time Sports, be sure to visit us at www.mytimesports.com. Thanks for being around, man.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I just wanted to add to you that, I appreciate, I know you're out seeing a lot of players. You're on the road a lot. You're away from your family. And I know now your son is playing in your hometown. So you get to be hands-on and seeing and being a part of it and understand the experience at a level that I have it from a different point of view. Because Drake has been a junior college player. He's been a Division II player. Now he's a Division I player. So you have a unique vantage point to see all of these levels. And I look forward to hearing more as his career continues moving forward.
Yeah, appreciate it. And you've been a big part of that. I kind of wash my hands of Drake when it comes to the recruiting process. I let him handle his own things because I deal with parents every day, and I don't want to be that parent that, pushes him. So, he went all 15 hours away to junior college and, like you said, worked out on his own. He did everything to get better, and he continues to get better every day. And I'm excited to see, what happens this year at UNO as well. So I appreciate it. And, we'll be back in a couple of weeks with our next episode. And we'll talk a little bit about collegiate summer ball on the next episode, because I think we can help some players find some good summer home college.
Absolutely. Good deal. Well, thanks for having me, Dave.
All right. Talk to you later.